Morning. Farm subsidies and insurance. This has become quite the topic. I don't know if you have noticed, but there's a farm bill that's been trying to be passed that will affect a lot of farmers throughout the entire United States. These farmers could benefit greatly from these subsidies. I do understand why a lot of people share their concerns with overspending in the government and it overstepping its authority. But with our food supply, I don't get that. I mean, we spent $3 trillion in Iraq alone, according to a Harvard journal. And we spent all of that money trying to do absolutely nothing, really. I mean, we did nothing for that. But whenever it comes to our own people, our own farmers, our own Americans, people who suffer through hurricanes, why is it that people say no government assistance for that? And then they'll say, and what gets me even more is whenever the families whose homes have been absolutely devastated, destroyed through the hurricanes that just went through recently, or through tornadoes, or things of other natural disasters, they'll be all for the government to help subsidize those people and help those people get their homes back and help them build that. They're all for that. And they'll complain and they'll throw things out there like they're only getting $700 for their home going through this disaster. It just blows my mind what people think. And I've come to the conclusion that most people live in their own bubble and that they see what only they see. They don't understand what other people go through. So I figured, why not? Let's go over farm subsidies and who they help, like why we need them, and why pretty much they're our only options, really. And so farm subsidies, they cover a wide range of natural disasters, drought, hurricanes, disease, pest damage, and many more things that are way outside of the control of the farmer. There are price fixing that happens. We saw that a lot this year with cotton prices. Cotton prices are extremely low and atrocious. I mean, it's kind of a death sentence to the farmers in this area. If you cannot make a profit on 60 cents per pound cotton, you just can't. And so you're pretty much just planting for a loss. And this year, the government has stated that corn this year is about negative $76 per acre. So that's kind of what we're planning for, is going into a negative. I mean, it doesn't seem like there's going to be a profit, and so that's why there's some subsidies that cover prices, is because you pretty much have to plan for a loss some years, and that's the way it's looking, unless there's crop shortages that happen later this year or something like that. And so some of these disasters can go on for decades. Prices can be terrible for decades. Drought, I mean, we've been going through a drought for a very long time, and you don't just get out of a drought by having one good year of rain. It takes several good years of normal rainfall to fix a drought. And we've had some decent rain these past couple of years, but it only tends to rain during the worst time. And so there's been a lot of failed to plant, which it also would cover that. And so farmers who were trying to plant corn this year around us were flooded out and could not plant corn in a good timing. So they had purchased all the seed and had to return at a loss. and then grow a less profitable crop, which if you've got, land bills or something like that, and you're growing sorghum as opposed to growing corn, that sorghum is about the same price as corn in our area. So our market is very local. We sell to feedlots, and that's our market. I mean, we can't really go outside. With cotton, we sell to the cotton dealer or the cotton gin here, and so we are very limited to what we can grow and where we can sell, and it really strains the farmer in our area. And so there was also too a lot of cotton that was not grown that normally would be grown, but the prices were so terrible too as well. We usually grow about a couple of thousand acres of cotton. This year we grew zero because the prices were so low. We happen to have good enough water to where we can grow corn. And so we grow way more corn than usual, which, put a strain on our water, which brought down our yields on corn, but we have more volume. So that kind of covers our problem. But cotton would have been better if we could have grown in the other fields. So we're still kind of limiting, our profitability this last year. And so if cotton prices still stay low, then this next year is going to be very, very difficult. And it's definitely going to be one of those years that you plan for a loss and you figure out your avenues, which way you're going to go. And there are a lot of farmers that do not have that ability to cover those losses for 3 or 4 years at a time. And we've also experienced a lot of other different things that just high prices. You have the war in Russia and Ukraine, and that war has caused a strain on fertilizer market. It's also caused a strain on the wheat market. It's also and then you also have Israel and the Gaza, the Houthis, Iran. You have all of that, which has also caused a lot of disruption in the markets for fertilizer. And so these massive incidents that are going on cause a ripple effect in the markets for fertilizer, for crops, and so on. And they really cause a strain on the supply and demand for these products. So this has caused fertilizer to be at a high price for a very long time. Even though we may have had decent prices the past 2 or 3 years, it has really, really impacted our profitability. And so this past year, you've seen, if you follow equipment prices and stuff, and equipment being sold at dealerships, you will have noticed that prices have gone down at a very fast rate. This is due to people not being able to purchase tractors or having to sell off equipment because of hard times. And that is one way to get money to pay for next year, but you can't just sell every single tractor that you have, because it's a necessity to be able to grow your crops and plow your fields. And it's a never-ending dilemma. And so there has been the question whether private insurance could cover this. And the answer is hell no. I mean, there's no way anyone will go into the business that requires and has this much, or actually has this much risk to it. Farming has so many different factors you have to weigh in. And I think that if private insurance did take over, I think the farmer would be fighting the insurance company year in, year out, because the insurance agency has to make a profit, and so does the farmer. So the insurance agency is always going to be pulling, well, we don't cover that disease. You need to go over here. I mean, it's the same thing with your health insurance. I mean, there are things that, like it won't cover, or pre-existing conditions, which they cover now. But I mean, there are so many different factors. And I know my family's been kicked off of insurance since Obamacare at least 15 different times. And so it's going to be the same thing. It's not compatible. Now, there is private insurance for hail damage, and that's the only one that I'm aware of right now. I haven't really looked into anything else. This is just the one I know because we experience it and we buy it every year because we get quite a bit of hail damage every once in a while. And these past few years, we've had up to 100% hail damage on some of our fields. Now, does it cover everything? Does it help? Yeah, a little bit, but sometimes it just covers the premium. So, I mean, and then if it happens year in, year out, like if it happens several years in a row, the insurance company gets very, very picky. And so they'll force you to harvest your crops, even though, your break even is at 15 bushels per acre. And for a fact that it's going to be around 5 bushels per acre. That the adjuster, whenever he comes out there, knows that there's nothing there. And then, so you'll be harvesting a field, and there'll be a corner that has 0 bushels per acre in it, and you can see it from the combine, and then he'll see it from the other side, and he'll ask, why didn't you harvest that? And then he'll force you to drive him out there, or you'll have to tell him to just drive yourself out there. I can't do it right now. And look to make sure that there is no wheat in that. And if there is, he may make you harvest it. And so in that aspect, you may as well just throw money in as fuel for your combine. I mean, it's madness. And these are just, a few examples. That's just one example of how terrible the private insurance has been for us. We've had another instance about battling insurance companies whenever we had somebody spray the wrong product on cotton, which killed an entire field of cotton. And so we were fighting for 3 years this other insurance company that insures the spray company. And for 3 years we fought. And the main reason for fighting is they did not want to pay us the full amount that was owed. And then so it caused an extreme amount of, strain on the business, because in the end, I think we settled for around 130, 150K. And that is cash flow. That is cash flow for our business. That can make or break a farm, especially if they're a smaller farm. And having one field completely destroyed is just, depending on the time of year, can cripple a farm pretty bad, because there's always the chance that you can't grow a second crop on that. And I just think that farmers don't pass on their stories, or they don't tell other farmers about things that have happened, or they've just all died out, or they just don't remember. Because in the 1970s, farms were faced with southern leaf blight, and corn farmers, it destroyed 15% of the corn grown that year. 15%. That's a large portion of corn destroyed by one single disease. My computer just went to sleep. I was talking for too long. I did not know that was turned on. But anyways, yeah, I mean, this could happen any year. A new disease could come up. A bug could become resistant to a pesticide or to a GMO corn that we grow, and it could become resistant. And I just don't know if those stories have been passed on. And I know in particular my dad has shared some with me about double interest rate in the 80s, and about how he went through 4 years where he did not harvest a single crop in the 80s, and so they weren't all back to back. Some of them were back to back, and the only reason why he survived was through subsidy programs and through going to the FSA office, which every farmer hates to go to. Most all farmers do not want to receive a subsidy. We would rather grow the best crop that we've ever grown and make a profit off of it. It is not a management issue in most cases, but in some it can be. But there are just so many factors that we have to face year in, year out that really affect us. One of the things that we're facing right now are low grain prices and low prices on cotton. Wheat is $5. A few years ago, it was $10. That's a significant difference in price. Corn was up to $7. I think that was 2021, and is now down to below $5. It trickled down to below $3 this last year. This is out of our control. We cannot control global markets. Let me repeat that. We cannot control global markets. The markets are based on supply and demand and trade between foreign countries. In conclusion, I think that having a farm rely on private insurance is pretty much going to be the destiny of the farm in the areas where I'm at. I can't speak for every single farm, but I know for a fact that we have way too many risks that insurance agencies will not. They're just not going to cover everything, and it's going to just be a constant battle to get even the smallest payments. As far as government subsidies, I think that's probably the best option. It represents 2% of the national budget, so it's not a major factor that goes into our national budget, and we have to keep people fed, because we don't just feed the United States, we feed the rest of the world too as well. And so I think that in order to combat times where it's difficult, where we're at war with several different countries through proxy war, and then so that'll spark trade wars that affect prices globally. And I think that there needs to be some sort of assistance, especially during these times, that will help the farmer. And not every region suffers the same thing year in, year out. There were a few years ago, the prices were super high on wheat, and if the climate was right in those areas, farmers profited very, very well. But that's not everywhere. I mean, we face drought, others face flood, others get hit by tornadoes. And one thing that I want to leave with is just kind of, for instance, so a farmer has a sprinkler. The sprinkler costs $140,000. Actually $240 because it's half mile. it gets hit by a tornado. That tornado wipes out the sprinkler, and there's crops on that land. That crop is gone because you're not going to get a sprinkler on in time. That'll be a total loss. And a half-mile sprinkler, a 500-acre circle, it will produce about $500,000. And so losing cash flow of about $500,000 in 3 seconds is devastating for a farmer. And there's no insurance company that's going to pay the full amount, because not only do you have that, you have to do, there's catch up and stuff like that is involved. And so I think that it's insane to me that people just kind of want to chew off their own leg, kind of like a coyote whenever it gets hurt. And I just, there's no sense in it at all. It's a food source. It's a necessity. And so it's not like a bank to where you can just go to another bank. This is going to be devastating, for farmers around us if we don't get a farm bill passed. And so that's just kind of what I've experienced, just living in rural America, to where we don't get a lot of rain. We go through droughts, we go through hailstorms, and all sorts of different other things that affect the way we live. And that's going to affect everybody in our community, because it's a farming community, and all those around us. And so you're talking about millions of people being affected, because some people are just so prideful about how conservative they are, when really we've been in a mixed economy for a very long time. And whenever they come to retire and they paid into Social Security for years, they're going to live off of Social Security for the rest of their life, and they're going to take max benefit. And why should you not? I mean, it's your money. They only get 60 cents on the dollar for that. So, yeah, I mean, that's it. I mean, I think it needs to be passed.